Gunfire in a York City park filled with kids. Police say 2 shooting victims are targeted.
It's just scary that they'll let loose like that without considering anybody that they could hit.
2 men injured in an overnight shooting. Lancaster police are trying to find out why.
Packages delivered to homes stolen. Now police say they've captured the thief.
This evening's rain moves away and it looks like cooler temperatures move in.
Coverage you can count on continues. This is WGAL News 8 at 5.
Gun violence in the Susquehanna Valley. 4 people have been shot in the past 24 hours. Good evening, I'm Ron Martin.
I'm Janelle Stelson. In one of those shootings, the bullets flew at a park in York, crowded with youngsters. People, homes, and cars all hit.
WGAL News 8's Ed Weinstock is live with the latest information.
Yeah, well, the rain is keeping the kids away today, but yesterday was a beautiful day and there were a lot of kids out on this jungle gym and a basketball court. That's when the gunfire rang out.
There was casings all over the basketball court.
Witnesses say the shooter stood behind a utility pole when he opened fire in the city park. People started running. 2 people were shot, a 17-year-old from York and a 20-year-old from Baltimore. Police say they were targeted. A witness says the shooter just walked away.
Didn't seem to faze him in the least bit, and even when he took off running, he didn't run like he was in fear of being caught.
Police initially took in 3 teens in connection with the shooting, but they were later released.
Tough to sleep at night.
A row of homes borders the park here on York's northwest side, and one of the homes behind me had a bullet hole in the window, and 2 other cars were also hit. In York, Ed Weinstock, WGAL News 8.
More gunfire, this time in Lancaster City, where 2 people were hit. WGAL News 8's Meredith Jorgensen is live from that scene.
Janelle, the road here is closed right now because of some utility work, but it was closed overnight because of that shooting investigation. And today, police continue to search for clues from that shooting that happened just after 2 a.m. right here on the intersection of Beaver and Vine Streets. Lancaster police say 2 25-year-old men were injured in the overnight shooting. Officers came upon one from Columbia who suffered gunshot wounds to his left leg.
They were able to apply a tourniquet to help stop the bleeding.
The other from Lancaster suffered a graze wound to his lower back. Detectives processed the crime scene in the early morning hours and continued with interviews today.
Obviously, these guys are conscious, so talking to them, where were they coming from, who were they with, what did they see in here? So it's a lot of interviewing, a lot of canvassing and trying to put the pieces together.
They're also looking for nearby camera footage, both from coalition cameras and private security cameras.
We only may get a snippet, we only may get a partial image, but sometimes that's enough.
So far today, no arrests in this case and no charges have been filed. That one victim taken to the hospital remains in fair condition. In Lancaster, I'm Meredith Jorgensen, WGAL News 8.
More gun violence, this time in Harrisburg. A man says he was cooking dinner when a bullet came through a wall and struck him in the arm. It happened Saturday night in the 1900 block of State Street. Bullet casings were found outside. Witnesses say as many as 6 shots were fired. Some cars were also hit.
Also in Harrisburg, a woman is facing charges tonight after police say she stabbed her boyfriend. That happened on the 1800 block of Whitehall Street Saturday night just before 6. Police say they found the victim on the kitchen floor with a punctured lung and lacerated liver. Caress Murphy is facing several charges, including attempted homicide.
Police in Lancaster County have made an arrest in a rash of package thefts.
WGAL News 8's Ann Shannon's here with an update on the case.
Well, East Lampeter Township police have been working on this case for the last 2 months, and today investigators announced charges against 19-year-old Jordan Durham of Gordonville. He faces 8 counts of theft by unlawful taking. News 8 first told you about this case last week. Police believe that Durham was stealing packages after those items had been delivered, but before the resident could get to the delivery. Investigators were first alerted to the thefts in February after homeowners started reporting missing packages. The thefts happened mostly in housing developments and neighborhoods, and packages were often taken from homes that were near the road or parking lots. Police believe there are more victims of these package thefts who have not yet come forward to file a police report. Investigators say they've actually recovered items that appear to be stolen, but haven't been able to identify the victims just yet. Durham is in prison on $5,000 bail. Ann Shannon, WGAL News 8.
A Lancaster man's been sentenced to up to 36 years in prison for killing his 2-month-old son. Antonio Flores Feliciano was originally convicted in 2012 of aggravated assault and related charges for seriously injuring his son, Adiel Flores. It happened in 2009 at a South Christian Street home. The boy was unresponsive since then and died in October of 2017 as a result of head and brain trauma. It's all due to shaken baby syndrome. Flores Feliciano has now pleaded guilty to third-degree murder.
A man will be charged for a standoff in Lititz, Lancaster County. Police were called to the first block of East 2nd Street just after 7 o'clock last night for reports of a man running around with a knife. When police got there, they say 44-year-old Robert Bieber went into a house and refused to come out. Crisis negotiators were called in, but he eventually stopped communicating with them. So police broke in around 10 p.m. and tased Bieber while arresting him. Bieber and a Lititz police officer suffered minor injuries. Police say Bieber was taken to the hospital and has been charged with making terroristic threats and simple assault.
With the Mueller report submitted and Attorney General William Barr now having released his summary, President Trump is claiming victory.
But Democrats say not so fast. They want to see the full report for themselves. NBC's Blaine Alexander reports.
On the Monday after the Mueller report delivery, President Trump continuing his victory lap.
It's 100% the way it should have been. I wish it could have gone a lot sooner, a lot quicker. We can never let this happen to another president again. I can tell you that.
This after Attorney General William Barr, in his 4-page summary of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's report, telling Congress Mueller did not find that members of the Trump campaign coordinated with Russia. But on obstruction, Mueller not reaching a conclusion, instead leaving that up to Barr, who writes, the Special Counsel states that while this report does not conclude that the president committed a crime, it also does not exonerate him. But Democrats not satisfied.
Right now we have a 4-page summary written by somebody else, not by Robert Mueller. And that somebody else is not a disinterested party. He's a political appointee of Donald J. Trump.
Already pushing to subpoena both Mueller and Barr to testify before Congress. As for releasing the report, President Trump says it would not bother him at all, but leaving that decision up to his Attorney General. Blaine Alexander, WGAL News 8.
President Trump has made another gesture which is drawing applause in Israel. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu was at the White House today when President Trump signed a proclamation of U.S. recognition of Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. That's the strategic territory that Israel seized from Syria during the 1967 war. The move ended decades of U.S. neutrality on the issue.
Today I am taking historic action to promote Israel's ability to defend itself and really to have a very powerful, very strong national security.
I have a simple message to Israel's enemies. We will do whatever we must do to defend our people and defend our states.
The move comes after Mr. Trump drew praise in Israel for moving the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem.
Looking live over the Susquehanna Valley, a gloomy and rainy start to the week, but be patient, more spring-like weather is on the way. Chief Meteorologist Joe Calhoun.
Yeah, going to take a couple days. This rain should get out of here pretty quickly, but getting some moderate, even moderately heavy rain in southern parts of Adams and parts of York County. You see it around Littlestown there, even Gettysburg getting a pretty good downpour. Don't be surprised you see a few wet snowflakes. You can see the radar is trying to indicate some of that in parts of Cumberland, Perry, Mifflin, Juniata counties out toward Altoona. They've had some wet snow being reported, and temperatures kind of raw, only in the low 40s. Rain should come to an end by about 8 o'clock, and then we'll start to clear it out overnight tonight. Cold night, though, down near 30 degrees. So clearing skies tonight. Tomorrow looks like a cool day, but with sunshine. That sunshine starts to warm it up as we get later on in the week. In fact, could even get near 70 by the time we get to Saturday. I'll have more details on that with that updated 7-day coming up.
All right, thank you, Joe. State of addiction coverage now. Opioid-related overdose deaths are declining in Pennsylvania, but the crisis is not over. Governor Wolf has now signed his 6th opioid disaster declaration. WGAL News 8's Barbara Barr's here with more on the public health crisis.
Ron, the Department of Health says while lives are being saved due in large part to naloxone, it's too soon to declare victory.
We recognize that this is the public health crisis of our time.
The Department of Health's Ray Bereshansky says the opioid crisis didn't happen overnight, and it will take time to defeat it. That's why the governor extended the disaster declaration that's been in effect for more than a year. It brings 17 state agencies together to coordinate efforts to stop overdose deaths and fund the distribution of naloxone, the so-called overdose reversal drug. Deaths are on the decline. State data shows there were 5,559 opioid-related deaths in 2017, compared to 4,267 last year, a decrease of nearly 1,300.
It's too early to declare victory. We're cautiously optimistic about some of the numbers we're seeing. We're looking for additional data to back those numbers up.
The state says opioid prescriptions are down 20%, and more patients are going to the hospital and being admitted to treatment programs. The state received $5 million in federal funding to buy naloxone when the disaster was first declared, and the governor is requesting an additional $1.5 million. Barbara Barr, WGAL News 8.
Thank you, Barbara. Still to come, the Food and Drug Administration is warning patients about new long-term risks associated with breast implants. And ahead at 5:30.
I'm Sally Kidd in Washington. The special counsel's work is done, but questions about obstruction linger. I'll explain.
And coming up at 6, how a group of Warwick Middle School students are impacting the community while also serving up a hot cup of joe.